Welcome in, Oklahoma Sooners fans, college football fans, into another edition of Oklahoma Sooners Live. This is our Oklahoma call-in show, so welcome in. If you are watching live right now, you can jump in the live chat, both on YouTube and on X. Although I will mention that those who are watching on X, if you're seeing this right now on X, one thing for you, we're going to try something new tonight. And actually, shout out to my man. Travis Davidson, he was actually the one that was talking about it, kind of reminded me of trying to do this. It's not going to be live on X for very long, so make sure to jump over to the YouTube channel, Oklahoma at the Voice of College Football. Join in on YouTube, on the YouTube live chat. We'll have everything going over there. This is just a tactic that we're trying out to see how many we can pull in on X and go over to the YouTube channel. Of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. I wanted to get to even more, but then some big news dropped today that we're obviously going to have to talk about. And so we're going to get to much of it. We had Trump sign an executive order that may or may not affect college football. It's going to affect college sports. In some regard, it will affect it. And I'll talk a little bit about it from what I've researched and my understanding of it. Again, bear with me because I'm not a legal expert. And then I'm also going to go through the Oklahoma 2025 football schedule, give you my predictions of win or lose. I might even throw in a score prediction on some of them. But again, bear with me. It's preseason, guys. This whole prediction stuff is starting to get old. At least we had some actual news that we could throw in tonight. I think that's something that we can add to the mix. But in terms of just the prediction season, man, I'm getting it's getting old. I'm ready for college football, and I'm sure you guys are too. And so I'm very excited to get into it. But of course, like I mentioned, it is our call-in show. I am actually going to click start right now to open up the call-in number. Give me just one moment as I do that. There we go, ready. And we're going to connect to the show. So we should have our call-in show available, or our call-in number available. That call-in number, I will post that in the chat right now for those who are watching on YouTube. It will be posted in the chat on YouTube. So again, if you're watching on X and you want to call into the show, jump over to YouTube. That's the best way to find it over there. I'm going to paste it right there. Sorry, bear with me. I know I'm trying to operate this show and host it all at the same time, but very excited to hear from you guys. So call in. That number is 405-353-4535. Again, that's 405-353-4535. When you call in, it will ask you to name your name and where you're from. Just try to be clear so that way I can see that on here. It'll kind of screen them for me. And then we'll get you into the show and we'll talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. Try to keep it clean. That's the only rules. And we're going to get into it. Again, I want to mention to everybody that on YouTube, first, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on X, jump over to YouTube because we won't have the entire show on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. So make sure to jump over to YouTube and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And if you're a supporter of this show, of this channel, we've got a couple of things. First off, any donations and super chats will be read on the show every single time. As long as we see them, we're gonna read them. And then also we're trying to promote a new membership program just to try to help and support this channel so we can keep on growing and doing bigger things. I don't want to give away too much of what we've got in the works, but I know for our members, we've got things like exclusive live shows that we're going to try to plan out. So it will be me and Chad and Tierney whenever they get back to the swing of things to try to promote and to give you guys some extra exclusive content, more engaging content as well. Stuff that will truly engage with you guys as much as possible. We're going to do a lot more too. There's a lot more that we've got in the works. I can't throw too much of it out there. You got to hit that button real quick. Anyways, so if you would, click that link down in the description below, and you can sign up to become a member, support this channel, help us keep on growing. We don't require you to do that. We're still going to give you guys all this same stuff that we have. Live shows on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thursdays are our live call-in show. Anyways, let's jump into it. Again, that call-in number is 405-353-4535. It is down in the chat on YouTube, so that way I don't have to keep on reading it off to you. But we're going to get into it. Like I said, it will only be live on X for the moment. But we're going to get into it and talk a little bit about Trump's Save College Sports executive order. When I first saw this, I thought, okay, cool. The headline seems pretty cool, right? Save college sports. Why not? And even the brief headlines that I was reading, I didn't have any negative thoughts about it. I have some negative thoughts overall. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. I don't know why this had to be a thing. I don't know why Trump had to go out there and throw this in there. But this executive order is basically to, it's something that man, Trump threw it out there, and it definitely throws a wrench in some things. I'm going to break it down to you. I did as much research as I could do on this and tried to understand it. I'm not a legal expert. This is really where I could use Chad quite a bit to maybe break some of this down even more for me, the things that I don't understand. But I will give you as much as I do understand, and even throw some things out there in case you guys understand what I don't. So here it is, this executive order, kind of a preview of it real quick, just kind of an overview is what it should be. You've got President Trump who signed this, and he called it Saves College Sports executive order, signed today. And it's going to ban any kind of third-party pay-for-play. And again, I see so many ways that this is going to they're going to try to do this all under the table. That's what I think. First reaction is they're going to try to do this under the table. Then if you try to take it away from them, they're going to try to do it under the table. That's what I felt like happened quite a bit when Trump, or sorry, not Trump, when college sports were not allowed to pay players, they did it all under the table, right? I mean, this is confirmed now. They don't even have shame to come out and say, yeah, we did it, but what are you going to do about it now? So anyways, this entire executive order is to try to take that away, and specifically from third parties. And so that's one thing that I want everyone to understand. From what I understand from this executive order is that it's supposed to take away third parties pitching in to pay to play. So, for example, this past offseason, Miami was in contention for John Mateer, pulling him in as quarterback down for the Miami Hurricanes. Oklahoma also trying to get him. Now, let's say that I use this one a lot because I feel like they threw their name in there a lot. So I'm going to use Raising Cane's for an example, okay? And no endorsement there, nothing for Raising Cane's other than I guess I'm going to say their name. Raising Cane's down in Miami says, "Hey John, we'll give you, I don't know, $150,000 to come down here, and we'll pay you this to come down here and play for Miami." From my understanding, that is what they're trying to ban is to try to keep it a level playing field to where you don't have third parties chipping in. That way you don't have a market that's just got a crazy amount of third party sources and boosters that are able to chip in and start to pay more. Now, it doesn't really, there's nothing you're going to do that's going to level the playing field because teams are going to find ways to misconstrue this and twist it and make it fit to where it works for them, right? So that's one thing I want to throw out there. I don't know. Anyways, that's the idea of this executive order, and so it's supposed to kind of keep those third parties from paying any kind of pay to play payments to athletes, like direct cash from the boosters for a performance bonus or some for the player to play at your university. So it's also still going to allow legit NIL deals. So it's not taking anything away from NIL. It's going to allow things like endorsements, and it even clarifies that athletes are not going to be employees. They're not going to be looked at as employees. From my understanding, I don't think that athletes want to be viewed as employees, although they do want some protection, and which is what this executive order is going to offer. It's going to protect scholarships and other opportunities, and we'll get to some of that. Some opportunities. I guess I'll throw some of that out right now. So some of the opportunities, things like protecting players with things like insurance and guidance, getting their degrees, things like that. Which, like I said, I'm going to get to more of that here in just a moment. But to get into some of the key impacts that this executive order is going to now have in college sports, because obviously it's going to have some key impacts. It's going to preserve this amateur model, and what that's going to do, it's basically going to curb any kind of donor funding salaries. So the donors aren't able to, again, give some sort of pay-for-play type payment to the players to entice them to come and play for their school, the school that they want them to play for. and specifically in bigger sports, that's what it's going to prohibit. You don't see a whole lot of this. You're starting to see it in softball. You don't see this a whole lot in softball, even too much in women's basketball. Some of the smaller sports, which those two that I just mentioned might be bad examples because they're growing. They're growing tremendously, and I love to see it. So you don't see that too much in those sports as much. Even in college basketball, you don't see it. Men's basketball is what I mean. You don't see it as much as football. Although those are your two biggest ones: basketball, men's basketball, and football. For example, I guess tennis might be a better one. You don't see a whole lot of that. Hey, we'll pay you to come over here in tennis. Even in baseball, you don't see as much. Although I will say, from the closer that I've gotten to the baseball program in Norman, it's starting to happen. So obviously, that's what this is trying to keep from happening. It's going to mandate expanding the scholarships, especially for women's and non-revenue sports, and so it's going to protect those sports. I know that was a big concern for people whenever they were dropping a lot of this with the House versus NCAA settlement. Is that okay? The way that this is all being broken down is that we're going to have a lot of sports go away. Things like rowing and possibly even tennis in some schools, golf, the ones that don't really pull in their own revenue, anything that pulls in any kind of extra revenue, that those non-revenue sports, they might go away. But this executive order is put in place to hopefully protect those somewhat. I don't know how much. That is for time to tell. So that's something to add in there. Anyways, it's also going to shield the NCAA from any kind of antitrust lawsuits. So that's another big thing that's kind of added in there. Again, that's something I'm not entirely sure. I don't know a lot of the lingo that I was reading in on that. I don't know exactly how far that protects them. If it just bans any kind of antitrust lawsuits, I don't think that would be right. I think there has to be some sort of exception to the rule, and I'm sure that that's put in there. But anyways, it's going to shield them, at least some, from antitrust lawsuits, shielding the NCAA from that. This executive order is also kind of aiming to stop any kind of chaos from all the NIL laws and any kind of court rulings. I mean, there's been a lot. You talk about the last couple of years, even just with all of this coming out, it has become chaotic, absolutely chaotic. So it's trying to stop all of that chaos. And that's the main thing that kind of thrown in there in this executive order, and kind of keeping college sports kind of really more focused on education, putting the student athlete back in student athlete. So that's a big thing, trying to keep it educational, not professional. That's what they're aiming for, which that's why college football fans and college sports fans love college sports more than professional sports. It's because there's that maybe not necessarily educational, but there's something to it that just brings more pageantry. It brings more love and passion into the game. So, I think there's elements of this executive order that I like, but I'll get to that in just a moment, where I still feel like this might be unnecessary. Some of the bigger picture wins for this, obviously, is that it's going to, it theoretically would boost some sort of fairness and balance to the sport. And in other words, it's going to put those big time programs back on top. That's what I get from it. I might be wrong. Maybe I'm not reading far enough into this, but it's going to put those big time those big name schools back on top. That's what I get from it. Just a quick reminder: the X. If you're watching on X right now, jump over to YouTube. We are going to have X removed from this live stream, but you'll be able to watch everything over on YouTube. So jump over there on YouTube real quick. For everyone on X, we'll catch you later. We'll catch you next time. All right, that is gone. So now that is gone from the stream, we can keep on going over here on YouTube. So everybody watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Quick reminder that you can call in right now. The call-in line is open. That is 405-353-4535. Again, 405-353-4535. We will continue with this executive order now. Anyways, getting back to the big picture wins, kind of trying to boost some sort of fairness, balance back to it. And it kind of prevents the rich schools. This is the idea. Okay, don't shoot me. I'm not I'm just the messenger. I'm not the one making this, but the idea is that it's going to prevent the rich schools from outbidding others using some sort of collectives. And it's going to support over 500,000 athletes with $4 billion in scholarships, and then also kind of looking to the consulting Olympics for athlete development as well. So that's the big win that you get from this. That's the main purpose, the main push for this, trying to boost the fairness and balance. I don't know. I'm skeptical of this. Okay, it's gotten to the point where it's so out of hand that I think many of us agree that the government had to get involved in this, but it's almost as if the government getting involved in this is just going to it has created a lot more mess, a lot more chaos, and obviously probably even more to come. Anyways, getting down to how this aligns with the SCORE Act. For those who don't know what the SCORE Act, I actually gave much more in-depth a few weeks ago when this first came out. So if you want, you can go back and watch that. It kind of breaks it down what that SCORE Act is. Again, where I had to do a lot of research and putting down notes. A lot of time went into this and that. I don't remember a whole lot about that, but reading into this executive order, this is where it kind of becomes silly, because this executive order really strongly aligns with that SCORE Act, which is still going through Congress right now. So, I'll get to that. Both of them are going to block this employee status. Again, that seems to be the consensus, from my understanding, is that athletes don't want to be considered as an employee. That you think of an employee-employer relationship. That's not the same. It really isn't, and you don't want that. You want them to enjoy coming there and playing for the school, and you want them to play for the school and for the fans, and that's what a lot of this, I think, is trying to get back to. Bring college football back to the roots while still allowing NIL and NIL to what its good purposes are. I think there's also bad purposes for NIL, and obviously I think that's what the government is trying to intervene with, to try to prevent, is some of those bad intentions with NIL. So it's also going to kind of, both of these, the executive order and that SCORE Act, which was brought up, I believe, at the beginning of this month, maybe towards the end of last month. Both of them, again, blocking the employee status and granting antitrust protections to the NCAA. It's also going to standardize NIL, kind of avoid those pay-for-play disguises. Although, again, like I mentioned, it's just going to cause them to up their game with those disguises to keep that pay-for-play. So I don't know. I'm curious on how all of this is going to go into play, how it'll all work out. It's also supposed to protect women's and even non-revenue sports, both of them, kind of that idea, because when the House first NCAA settlement first went through and finally got passed, it wasn't even a week later that there was an amendment that needed to be made. Somebody came with a challenge. There were several women athletes that came with a challenge to this bill and said, "Hey, you don't have any kind of mention of Title IX in here," which was just a huge overlook by the government. Imagine that, the government overlooking something. Just crazy that you would just completely overlook that. But anyways, it's going to protect women's and non-revenue sports. So again, that worry that you're going to see schools start to cut those non-revenue sports because they're not going to help your NIL. So if we can save money by cutting these programs that aren't getting all the viewership and aren't bringing in revenue, then let's just cut them. And there are some schools that I could see cutting a lot of them, cutting your rowing, cutting your tennis, cutting soccer. I could see some schools cutting even baseball, cutting softball, cutting a lot. I mean, there's a ton more that I'm not considering off the top of my head. That, I mean, I could see schools going for that method, and that's scary. There's so many athletes in all of those. Wrestling is another one, another big one. I think that if it's not pulling in a revenue for the school, why not just cut it so you can spend more on your athletes? I guess. This executive order, along with the SCORE Act, again, both of those going together, they're both trying to protect both women's and any kind of non-revenue sports, because, like I said, the House first NCAA settlement did not include Title IX. The SCORE Act, along with this executive order, they both kind of create kind of these NIL, national NIL rules that are overriding any states, so that states can't write some kind of law to combat this or to try to take out part of these, both of these, the SCORE Act and the executive order. I think both of them have wording in there to kind of mention that, and then again, it mirrors the executive order mirrors the SCORE Act in a lot of this, and as well as a lot of this anti-chaotic goal, trying to cut down the chaos with NIL and everything that's gone into it. So there's where they kind of go inside, and I'll get back to that because man, there's a lot of thoughts on that, and I'll kind of show how this executive order may not necessarily coincide and basically mirror or copycat the SCORE Act, but how it kind of reinforces the SCORE Act. And I think this executive order, it really kind of jumps in more with these immediate bans, jumping in right away, and clarifications. And maybe that was the intention of Trump signing this executive order, is that we're putting this into effect now while they figure this stuff out. Again, I'll get to that in a moment. Try not to jump ahead of myself. But anyways, the executive order also kind of complements the SCORE Act's push for schools and conference control over NIL, and also lawsuit reductions, trying to take down all these lawsuits because there's been so many of them, and a lot of them directed towards the NCAA, trying to just cut all these out. Let's get down to business, get this thing set into place. Again, this is all stuff that should have been done before we ever released it. So just ridiculous that it's gotten this far. So anyways, both of them kind of doing that. They're both also kind of prioritizing kind of an ecosystem stability over these kind of wild west kind of recruiting tactics that we're using by using NIL to recruit players. And so it's trying to cut that down, both of these, the executive order and the SCORE Act. Now, here's where I find this kind of ironic that Trump signed this executive order, and where I really get confused about why he would have done this, because I feel like from my research, this executive order could disrupt that SCORE Act, which has a lot of good things in it. I think overall the SCORE Act is very good, as long as they come to good agreements on everything that they've discussed. I think the SCORE Act is a very good thing, and so I think this executive order could possibly disrupt it kind of by parts of that SCORE Act, both of them kind of saying the exact same things and becoming redundant. So you can't have two orders of law trying to enforce the exact same thing with the exact same wording almost, because then if there is some sort of rebuttal to that, now you're not just changing one, you're changing two. And who knows, if you start to go down that road and you allow that, then you're changing 4 or 5. You see where I'm going with that. So it becomes very redundant. And so this executive order, in pushing the quick bans, it might even pressure Congress to try to tweak or maybe even fast track some of this, with the SCORE Act. And if they were to fast track it, then they may not get everything done properly, and trying to push it out too quick. Now, obviously, we would like them to push it out quicker, but we also want them, if they're going to push this out, push it out in the right way. So yeah, that's kind of some of my concerns. Also, if the SCORE Act allows any kind of broader NIL, the executive order's strict pay for play prohibition, or prohibition would be the right word, kind of prohibiting any kind of pay for play from third parties. These might clash in some ways, the way that the executive order words it compared to the SCORE Act. And so it's going to force a lot of revisions to the SCORE Act. So that's kind of where I see this. Bottom line for fans, the executive order, it's going to act fast to try to save college sports from any kind of pro-style paying, and trying to align with the SCORE Act, and the reform and kind of that blueprint, but potentially even shaking up legislative timeline in some way. So, obviously, I think you should expect debates between the athlete's rights and then also tradition. That's where a lot of this is going to come into play. I'm not going to stand on the tradition side just because we've already thrown that out. I want tradition to stay intact as much as possible, and if they can fix that, yes, please. But I'm not going to argue strictly from the tradition's standpoint because it's already gone. We're too far gone from that point. And so, I think that's where it's going to come down to. Now, here's where I think that this executive order is extremely silly, extremely ridiculous. As I just mentioned, some of these similarities might cause a lot of confusion in Congress trying to push out that SCORE Act. That's one thing that I think is just very odd. And so that's something that I see as being an issue. And so pushing all of this out, this executive order, basically trying to push out the SCORE Act with by bypassing Congress and what they're already working on, especially with Trump's knowledge. And again, I'm not trying to get political, okay? So I'm going to try to keep this as unpolitical as possible, although I know that people are going to misconstrue what I'm saying and go off the rails and get angry about what I'm saying. Anytime you speak about any president, anything political, that's how it's going to go. But that's not what I'm aiming for. But with Trump pushing this out so fast, it's going to create a lot of chaos, a lot of mixing up with the SCORE Act. So with Trump's knowledge of the SCORE Act and knowing what it's putting into place, why he couldn't have advised for something in on the SCORE Act, I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong. So please correct me if I'm wrong. He could have advised for something to be added or taken away in the process of trying to push this through. So why not do that and ensure a steady process of the SCORE Act being put into place rather than going in there and disrupting what was going on. You see what I'm saying? I just don't understand that, because now I do think that there are some shakeups now that you're going to have to try to tweak things and redo some of the work that they've already done on the SCORE Act. And so a lot of that just seems very, I don't know, ridiculous to me. And here's my opinion on it. And again, this is the part that I think people are going to maybe misconstrue, maybe take out of context of how I mean this, or maybe take my words and twist them. Do it with it what you will. But I think this executive order feels to me like again, I'm trying not to be political with this, but I feel like it's Trump's ego stepping in there, and I think most people, if they're being honest with themselves, could see this. I think it's Trump's ego stepping in there and saying, "I want my name on this." That's what it feels like to me. Trying to push it out there so that, hey, look what I did for college sports. Uh, I can appreciate it. All right, I can appreciate it, but that's what it feels like to me. And so if it's good things for college sports, then yes, let's get it done. I just don't understand exactly why this executive order it had to kind of butt heads, not even butting heads, but just causing more chaos. If I'm seeing this correctly. So anyways, I'm very interested to hear you guys' thoughts on this executive order, on the SCORE Act, everything. And so please throw that in the live chat, throw it in the comments as well, not just the live chat here, but in the comments so we can see it, after the show as well. I am going to jump over to the live chat real quick. I see a few of you guys in there. Of course, corrections on here says Boomer Sooner, right back at you. And then also Jeremy, he comes in here, says Hulk Hogan, rest in peace. Yeah, R.I.P. I mean, I know he's a legend, and I was into wrestling, WWE when I was very little. I never was a big fan, although I was a huge fan of Hulk Hogan. Anybody my age or older, I'm sure, was a big fan of his, and definitely sad news. So yeah, absolutely, R.I.P. to Hulk Hogan. Let's see here. Corrections also jumps in and says Golden Hat is coming back to Norman. I'll get to that from my side, and what I'm thinking. Mess says executive order bridges Congress to address Fed law, placing guardrails on NIL collectives, allowing revenue share from the athletic departments, adding full scholarship protections to non-rev sports. Yes, and that's pretty much a lot of what I went through, but kind of breaking it down a little bit more into depth than that. Again, this executive order is doing that, but like I said, I'm just wondering, where where some of this is going to come into play with the Score Act. Is it going to rough things up to try to get that Score Act put into place? Because, like I mentioned, when I went through the Score Act and broke it down a little further into depth, I felt like overall it was a lot of good to come out of that if it goes through. Uh, I don't know. If they start to take some of that good out, and then I almost feel like this executive order would need to be in place until the Score Act is finished, and then just completely remove the executive order, completely delete it, and enact the Score Act in its place. Although there are some things that don't coincide, they don't really mesh together the same way. They don't mirror each other, I should say. And so maybe that's where Congress makes those tweaks, makes those changes, and then has it go into that place. Anyways, I don't know. Very excited to see how all that goes down. Mars Jam in the chat says, "Boomer, Sooner, right back at you, man." Modern Day Caveman says, "I think the SEC and Big Ten need to pay whatever penalty for breaking their contract and break away from the NCAA. The rest will follow." You know what? I can't disagree with you on that, but I can't agree with you either. So I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I am curious, what it would look like if entire conferences, if big name teams were to break away like that, and then if you were to have conferences, especially the SEC or the Big Ten, especially both of them, man, that would be huge for them to break away. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, that might even cause even more chaos. But I am interested in hearing you out on that. I'll say it that way. But anyways, guys, a quick reminder that call-in number is in the live chat. That was posted up at 7:03 in the live chat. I don't see any callers, so if you're trying to call in and I'm not seeing your name, please put it in the live chat that you're trying to call in. That number is 405-353-4535. It's a very repetitive number, but easier for me to remember, easier for me to say. 405-353-4535. All you have to do is call in, mention your name, and where you're calling from. That way I can see you. Once you pop up in the queue, I can add you to us and we can chat. Anything Oklahoma football. Like I said, just please keep it professional. We're going to jump into the football schedule, 2025 football schedule predictions. Oklahoma going into 2025 is going to be a very interesting team. We've talked about this. And again, like I said, I am tired of predictions. I'm tired of going through these predictions and having to talk about a lot of stuff. So at least that executive order gave us something to talk about tonight. But getting into the 2025 schedule for Oklahoma, when I look at it, I'm trying to come at this with the most unbiased opinions on these games as I possibly can. And so I was trying to crunch numbers, trying to do a lot to go into this. First game, August 30th against Illinois State at home. I think it's easy. I don't even have to pretend like I'm biased or anything for this game, or pretend that I'm not biased is what I should say. Illinois State, obviously, big time win for Oklahoma, right? I would expect Oklahoma to hang 60 points. And if there is any scoring on this, it's because there was some junk play that happened when the third string was in garbage time, and maybe they score. Man, don't let up. Even if we've got our third string, fourth string in, you can't allow Illinois State to score a touchdown, a field goal. So let's say they score 2 field goals in junk time, garbage time. I'm willing to concede that much. But man, we ought to score 60 on Illinois State. So Oklahoma comes away with a win, 1-0. Obviously, an FCS team coming from the Missouri Valley Conference is not going to do much. And then on top of that, even in the Missouri Valley Conference last year, Illinois State went 6-5. So yeah, you got to just have a crazy amount of yardage and scoring in this game. Easy one to call. That's a win. I'm going to throw this up on the screen as well, so you guys can see this as we're going through, seeing the OU schedule there. A little graphic that I was able to put together for the show tonight. Anyways, September 6th, week 2, game 2 for Oklahoma at home against Michigan. This is a big game, okay? And I kind of mentioned this before when kind of going through the schedule, but for Oklahoma, this is a big game. Okay, this is the first test for them. It's a big time matchup against a big time team, really a perennial Big Ten team. They're one of those teams that's always going to be in the discussion, always going to be in the contention for the Big Ten, and obviously in the last several years have been like the team in the Big Ten, beating Ohio State for the last four years. Is that right? 4 or 5. So I mean, Michigan's going to be a tough team for Oklahoma in week 2, game 2. It's going to be interesting, and I think that this is an important game for Oklahoma. But here's why I say that this isn't the most important game for Oklahoma. I think it's a very important game to see what Oklahoma's made of. If that Oklahoma offense can click against Michigan and they score more than 25 points, you feel really good about the offense, and I think that says a lot about what this team is capable of going into the rest of the season. But if Oklahoma wins a tightly contested game, let's say 28-24 or something like that, 28-20 even, if it's not double digits and it's not like the offense looked tremendous in that game, then I think, and if the defense is allowing 20 points against Michigan, I'm not really sure how to feel. Maybe Michigan found it out on offense because they do have Bryce Underwood over there. They also brought in Mikey Keene. So I think with the inexperience from Bryce Underwood, and the fact that I have heard some concerns about the Michigan's wide receiver room still kind of not doing so hot over there, I guess. There's a lot that goes into this. Michigan could be totally flipped around, and they're a really good team. We beat them 28-20, something like that, 24-28, something really close. It could come down to the last possession, and that could be you look back at the end of the season and say, man, that was a great win for Oklahoma. They beat a really good Michigan team that ended up going 10 wins, making it to the college football playoff. That could be the case. Or you beat Michigan, and you find out later on that they really didn't fix the things that they thought they were going to have fixed. Let's not forget Michigan only won 7 games a season ago. A lot of that very similar to what Oklahoma went through. So I think Michigan's going to be a good team. Okay, I'm not trying to say that Michigan's not going to be a good team. If Oklahoma beats them at all, it's going to be very big. And so I think this defense is what's going to be the main focus here on this game. It's going to be a defensive battle. I think Oklahoma wins this game. I really do. It could go either way, though. So, I could sit here and argue with a Michigan fan about who's going to win. I'm not willing to argue, though, because I'm not going to put money on it. That's for sure. And if you did, I think you'd be crazy to. This is just one of those coin flip games. 2 teams that week 1 you're not going to know too much about because they're both going against a cupcake team. Week 2 is where it's all about. And, you still don't know anything until even after this game. I don't think you truly know anything about these 2 teams unless it were to be a blowout one way or the other. So anyways, I think this is a big game. I don't think it's the biggest game. And I'll get back to that in a little bit. So Oklahoma starts off 2-0, beating Michigan and Illinois State at home. Then they go on the road, a little odd one here, going to Temple, an AAC team who finished 3-9, one of those 9 losses against Oklahoma last season. And so it was a big win for Oklahoma, but it was one of those wins that right off the rip, people were like, man, did that seem like this team was just a little vanilla? And I came out in defense of the program. And because I listened to what Brent Venables and the other coaches, Seth Ochell, I listened to what they said. Yeah, we didn't call everything. I mean, this is Temple. We don't want to call our entire playbook. And I believed it. I bought it. Anyways, Oklahoma going on to this next season, you would expect for them to have, like 400 yards passing if John Mateer were to stay in for an entire 3 quarters. I hope that this game is so out of hand that at halftime you hand it over to Michael Hawkins Jr. You hand it over in the 4th quarter, even getting, who knows, maybe Witt or Jet out there to play a little bit. I want it to be that far out of hand against Temple. Again, put 60 up. Don't allow them to score anything. That's what I want to see. So Temple 3-0, even though it's on the road, in a big time stadium. No, it's going to be an easy win. Should be an easy win for Oklahoma. So going on, this is the I guess the second game for Oklahoma, the second home game. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in this game because again, it's a team in Auburn that I don't know what to expect. The more that I study Auburn, the more I kind of feel good about Oklahoma beating them. And so I ultimately I feel Oklahoma's got the upper edge. I think Oklahoma's done more in the offseason to get better than Auburn has. I think Auburn will be much better this season than what they were last season. But this is Oklahoma at home, and Oklahoma's going to be way better than they were last season, in my opinion. So I'm going to count this one a win. Oklahoma starts off 4-0. It's going to be fun watching that quarterback come back into his old, his ex team, his ex home stadium to play against his ex team. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of hype around that game. I'm excited. I really want to see what Oklahoma is capable of against this team because it's an Auburn team that's going to look different. They're going to be a tough defense. They have an amazing offensive line that's going to protect Jackson Arnold. They've got a good running back room. I don't have any concerns there, and some great wide receivers, probably better weapons than what Jackson Arnold had to deal with a season ago, and then obviously a better offensive line as long as they stay healthy. So yeah, there's a lot with this one that I look at, and I think Oklahoma is just the better team. It could be another very close game like it was last season where it comes down to one freak play to win the game. I feel like I give Oklahoma the upper edge here. Personally, I'm feeling a little bit better about them. I think that they can win by 10, they can win by 14, and a comfortable double digits, like a comfortable 10 points is what I mean by that. I don't know, though. It is a question mark, but I think Oklahoma wins, starts off 4-0. Going on to October 4th, here's a game that we shouldn't even have to discuss. Kent State at home. That's a win. Oklahoma wins, goes 5-0. If Oklahoma starts off 5-0, man, you already know this season is already better than last season. If they start off 5-0, it means that they beat Michigan and they beat Auburn. That's two wins that last season, man, you're really close to losing. You were really close to losing against Auburn. It took the defense to have a miracle with the Kip 6, and took really kind of an implosion on Auburn's offense for you to win that game. Although they did take it, they won that game fairly. But that's what it took, was some chaos, some Sooner magic to win that game. So and then Michigan last season, man, Michigan Oklahoma would have been a very fun game to watch because other than the Ohio State game and that Alabama bowl game for Michigan, man, that Michigan team was just as bad as Oklahoma last season. Which again, Oklahoma going against Alabama, that was the best they looked all season last season. But anyways, Kent State's easy win, pushes them to 5-0. That's where you start to really feel good. I think you're going to see the depth shining through Oklahoma's first 5 games and starting to look good. Then you go on and you got to watch out for Kent State in the sense that you've got to make sure you blow them out and feel good about yourself, but don't sit there and feel too good about yourself, because as soon as you win that one, you have the rest of that night to go feel good about yourself. But the next morning, you're preparing, because October 11th, you're going down to Dallas facing a good Texas team. I do have some question marks about Texas, and the more I look into them, I kind of scratch my head and wonder why they're getting as much praise as they get, because I feel like they have a lot of question marks that Oklahoma had last season. So it's something to look at. I still think Texas is going to be good. I believe Steve Sarkisian is going to have a good Texas team. This is a tough one for me to call, again, because I don't really know what's going to happen with Texas and how good they really are. They're going to boast a loaded defensive line. I know they added some big dudes over there in the transfer portal. I really think that Texas is going to be good again. And I know that they have Arch Manning over there. I don't really know what to expect from him either. I know Oklahoma fans hate to hear Arch Manning so going to be great. I agree with you guys. Okay, I don't like hearing it either. I think it's kind of premature, just because there isn't anything on his resume to say that. But you also have to recognize that they're just saying, hey, he comes from a family that this is what he grew up doing, man. Like you do have to recognize that growing up in that family, you kind of get used to the pressure. And so I think that's what a lot of the talking heads mean when they're talking about Arch Manning this way. So I will say that I think Arch Manning will be just fine this season. So just because of my question marks with Texas, I don't want to say that I think we beat Texas because I don't know. I think it's going to be a close game. Okay. I'm thinking, man, I don't know, 32-28. Texas edges Oklahoma again in a very tight game. And if you play tight in that, at least you feel better about that game than getting blown out. Oklahoma needs to win that one. Okay, I'm on board with you guys there. Oklahoma needs to win that one. That's a big game for them to win. Brent Venables specifically needs to win that game. So I hope they win it, obviously. But I'm doing predictions here, guys. This is preseason. I'm going to say loss. Right now, I will probably change my prediction 5 times before that game is played. But right now on October 11th, that's Oklahoma's first loss, which, hey, if that's your first loss and Texas is as good as advertised, you still don't feel too terrible about the team as a whole. You might be able to face Texas again later on in the season if you can keep on performing really well. But then after Texas, you go to South Carolina. And this is one, guys, man, this is a very tough couple of games. This is where this down the stretch, man, this gets very tough because you don't have any kind of break. You go straight from Texas to South Carolina on the road. This is a tough one. I think South Carolina is an underrated team by some, an overrated team by others. Because of those who are talking about them and overrating them, it does make me question, man, maybe they're going to be better than I'm even expecting them to, because I think this is going to be a close game. And originally I would have said, I think this is going to close game, but Oklahoma wins. In prediction season right now, I'm going to say this is a loss on the road. Oklahoma goes down to 5-2. That's my prediction in this game right now. Although South Carolina may not be as good as advertised, and Oklahoma ends up coming away with that one. Maybe they get ticked off that they lost to Texas the week before, if my prediction was right on that, and they come out and they whoop South Carolina. Maybe that's the case. You also have to take into consideration that South Carolina will also be beaten up. I forget who it is. I think LSU the week before, if memory serves me correctly, for South Carolina. So maybe this is a game that Oklahoma comes out and comes away with. And I think my overall record in my head will stay true, because I think if they beat one, then I could also see a couple of others flipping, and I'll kind of talk about those as we go. But I'll say 5-2. Oklahoma loses to Texas, South Carolina. They bounce back with a win at home against Ole Miss on October 25th. Ole Miss, I mean, they just have some big question marks for me. What's the quarterback play going to look like with Austin Simmons? He's inexperienced. I'm curious to see what he does. I do have faith in Lane Kiffin that he's going to have a tough team. I just don't think, I think this is going to be a down year for him. I'm thinking like an 7 or 8 win season for Ole Miss. And that's not the end of the world for Ole Miss right now. Okay. I feel like Ole Miss is kind of in a building stage. And I'm really kind of looking forward to talking to an Ole Miss media person about this game, because I'm curious about how they feel about Ole Miss going into it, because I see some question marks. I see some question marks, and specifically how tough are your trenches going to be? How do you feel about Austin Simmons coming into the season with his inexperience? And knowing that Brent Venables is going to be throwing all kinds of crazy packages at him with blitzes to disrupt that young quarterback. And then, of course, you've also got to try to cope to a much tougher offense this season with Arbuckle's offense and John Mateer at quarterback than what you saw a season ago. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think Ole Miss will be good. I just don't think they're going to be good enough to beat Oklahoma at home. Again, this is a game that Oklahoma should have won a season ago. So I'm going to give this one, I'm going to give the edge to Oklahoma. I think a tough game, a very good game, and Oklahoma comes away with the win. Now at Tennessee, this is the one away game for sure that I know I'm going to. Already got everything booked, ready to go. And November 1st, my dad's birthday weekend, actually. So make sure to remember that and wish him a happy birthday. He's a Nebraska fan, but he's going to go to this game with me. My mom's an Oklahoma fan, so we're all going to go together. He's going to be cheering on Oklahoma, so you got to wish him a happy birthday for that, right? So anyways, This is going to be a fun game. Amazing atmosphere. Going to Knoxville for the first time since Baker Mayfield had the big comeback. What was that? A 17-point comeback, was it? Or a 14-point comeback in the fourth quarter? 14 points, I think it was, because I think it was 17-3. And a big-time comeback, double overtime win. Sterling Shepard with an amazing game. Baker with an amazing game. Samaje Perine was tough and battled through some adversity in that game. Anyways, this is a new season, completely new teams, completely new regimes. This is going to be very interesting. Again, I think Tennessee, after Nico Iamaleava's departure and some of the drama that went on there, and then, of course, you had the Jeremy Pruitt issues that you had. I think that was last season. There's just so much that went on there. And then, of course, I think they don't. I don't believe they have Dylan Sampson. I might be wrong on that. I really haven't looked deep into their roster, but I know that I just don't feel like their offense is going to be as explosive. Personally, I just don't know how I feel about Aguilar. I really don't. And I don't think he's going to be performing as good as Nico. And I don't think Nico was really that good last season. And so I really don't think he's going to be a step up. I don't think he's going to be that much of a step down. I think Josh Heupel is good enough of a coach to get him in the right place. I just think Oklahoma will be the better team. That's ultimately what it comes down to. So now I believe this would make Oklahoma 7-2 on the road, beating Tennessee. So 2-2 in the SEC, 7-2 overall record now after beating Tennessee here on November 1st. Jumping forward to November 15th, so we'd have a bye week in between at Alabama, going to Tuscaloosa. And I know a lot of people think that Alabama's kind of on the downhill trend, as if they're just not going to be the same old Alabama because they don't have Nick Saban, and that Kalen DeBoer didn't really bring it last season. He ended up losing to Vanderbilt and losing to Oklahoma, and so it's the end of the world. You have to recognize this was a brand new for him to step into a brand new conference, a brand new program, everything so new around him. Everything. The players had to adapt to him. He was throwing in a new scheme. His scheme really doesn't fit with Milroe's type. There's so much about Kalen Milroe that I respect from how he handled last season. And now you see where they're like, I'm pretty sure they're leading the nation with the most 5 stars signed in the 2026 class. So he's jumped back onto that recruiting trail and said, hey, listen, I know that I'm not Nick Saban, but I just made it to the national championship with Washington and held my own against some good teams through that season. That was the best season that the Pac-12 has had in over a decade, in my opinion, when Washington made it. Because you had Washington, Oregon, both contenders, like national championship contenders that year. You had USC at the top of their game. I believe they had a 9-win season that season. Oregon State was pesky. Washington State was pesky that season. Trying to think who else was in the mix. That was a good year for the Pac-12. Utah, obviously. So that was a good year for the Pac-12, and a Pac-12 that had some sneaky good defenses too. So Kalen DeBoer just has to say, hey, go back and look at the tape of what I just did a few seasons ago at Washington. I've got Alabama resources now. Look at what I'm able to do. And he's recruiting really well. I'm interested to see how good Ty Simpson is. From some of the reports that I've heard, I think Ty Simpson might be a step up from Jalen Milroe. Not necessarily that he's better than Jalen Milroe. I just think he fits this system better than Jalen Milroe. And so I'm excited to see what he brings. It's going to be a brutal road game in Tuscaloosa. I think Alabama wins. I don't think they're going to blow Oklahoma out of the water. I think Oklahoma's competitive in every single game. Whatever the record is, I think Oklahoma's competitive in every single game. But I think Oklahoma loses this one to go to 2-3 in the conference, 7-3 overall. They come back home the following week, and they face, they face Missouri. This one I feel pretty confident. Missouri got the best of Oklahoma last season because Oklahoma very much there was so much that they just threw that game away. Jackson Arnold's fumble there on the last, not the last drive, but right there at the end of the game. That was detrimental. It was such a back and forth game, but I think Bo Prabula is a little bit unproven, but I do think he's better than Brady Cook, although Brady Cook was very good. He fit into that system and did exactly what he needed. to do. But they also got Ahmad Hardy, right? So I mean, they add a good running back there. I think Oklahoma is the better team over Missouri. 10 out of 10. It's just you're not going to win 10 out of 10. Last season, Oklahoma may not have even been the better team, but they still should have won that game. They whooped Missouri for so long in that game. They were getting manhandled by a backup quarterback. I will say that at times. But they were whooping them at moments in that game, and then they would just flip around where Missouri was whooping them back. The momentum changes in that game were just so crazy, and there was a lot that went into that game. Oklahoma should have never lost that game. That was absolutely a win last season if Oklahoma just pieces something together to complement the defense. The defense was so good, specifically in that first quarter. I think in the entire first half, if I'm remembering that one. And you have an offense that's able to complement your defense this year. So I don't think there's any problems there. I think Oklahoma wins that one, goes to 3-3 in the conference, 8-3 overall. Moving on to the last week, LSU at home. Another game I'm very excited to go see because this is one that's on the calendar. I mean, it's going to be a big game. LSU, I think, is one of the best teams in the nation going into this season. That's what I feel. Again, that feeling might be wrong because we've seen that out of not just LSU but several other teams in the past. I think Brian Kelly also raises some question marks here and there. Ultimately, I think he's doing the right things at LSU. I think they're going to be better this year. I think Garrett Nussmeier, in my opinion, is the best quarterback going into this season, the most proven quarterback. Had over 4,000 yards last season, if I'm remembering that correctly. And they add some guys. Of course, you got Harold Perkins. I think he's going to have a better season, a breakout season this season. And I think there's just so much that team is so solid and so ready for this upcoming season. They may not end up being the best team in the nation in terms of what they end up how they end up performing and what they end up putting together. In terms of their record, they may lose a couple games that they shouldn't have lost. I still think they're going to be a very good team and ranked up there with one of the best teams in the nation. So I'm very high on LSU. I'm going to mark this one down as a loss. As much as I hate it, I'm going to mark this one down as a loss. I think LSU going into this season, I just don't know how you look at LSU and Oklahoma and say that Oklahoma is better than LSU. There's just so many question marks with Oklahoma. Now, again, as those question marks start to get answered, we're going to have a lot more confidence in how we're picking these games. Again, this is preseason predictions, how I'm predicting that Oklahoma is going to perform. I'm tired of prediction season, but I'm predicting Oklahoma going 8-4 overall, 3-4. 8-4, it's showing a lot of growth with this team, right? And I think there's a possibility for 9-3. You want my weird biased opinion? I have a weird biased opinion that Oklahoma is going to shock people and go 10-2, at least 9-3. And you know what? If I'm predicting 8-4 and I'm pretty accurate, that means there's a possibility they go 9-3. And 9-3 with this schedule is not a shoe in for the college football playoffs, but you're pretty close. So overall, I think that's something that Oklahoma can look forward to. So I think I think it's going to be an interesting season. I'm going to predict Oklahoma's official record, my official preseason prediction, 8-4. Just because I don't know if this offense is going to perform as good as I'm hoping, as good as I think they will. I just don't know. There's a lot of question marks for Oklahoma. You can come out here with confidence and saying that, that Oklahoma's going to be the better team. I don't know how Oklahoma isn't like a 10-win capable team this upcoming season with everything that we are hearing and everything that we see from them built in this offseason. But you haven't seen it on the field yet. So that's all I'm saying. That's why my overall prediction is 8-4, 3-4 in the conference, which I don't like that. No Oklahoma fans are going to like that, but I'm hoping for better. I'm hoping for better with you guys. I'm going to jump over to the live chat real quick. Again, the phone call line, the live call-in line, I should say, is still open. 405-353-4535. Again, that's 405-353-4535. Go ahead and call in right now. This is your last chance to call in and get in on there. And I'll try to get you in here in just a moment as I go through the live chat. Let's see here, real quick. Modern Day Caveman says Michigan is an important game, but beating Texas will definitely decide if we have what it takes if we have what it takes or deserve to be in the college football playoffs. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how I feel. I feel like that Michigan game is big. I think it could tell us a lot about Oklahoma, but the Texas game, like you said, I think that's really going to show. If you win against Texas and you win with a good deciding victory, a sizable victory, that's a big time victory for Oklahoma. And regardless of what Texas ends up doing, I guess, I think Texas will be just fine. I don't see them falling. I feel like worst case scenario for Texas this year, they go 8-4. That's my prediction for them. That's their worst case scenario. I think worst case scenario for Oklahoma, I really think so. Worst case scenario, obviously they could go Florida State like they did last season, but realistically, I think worst case scenario Oklahoma wins seven wins. My prediction is 8, and I think if they are better, if they're as good as I think they are on offense, then I would say 9-3 is my possible prediction. 9-3. You have to feel good about 9-3. Change your expectations just a little bit with me in recognizing how difficult this schedule is. 9-3 is a good season. Okay, guys. And especially if one of those three is, let's say that one of those 3 losses is against Michigan, non-conference. Again, this is why Michigan is a big game, but not the biggest game, not the most telling game. Because let's say that Oklahoma goes 9-3, one of those is against Michigan. That means in the conference, you ended up going through, and I misspoke too, because I think I said 3-4 in the SEC. That's impossible. There's 8 games in the SEC, so I messed up on my prediction there somewhere. But so I guess that'd be 4-4 in the conference, right? Because I'm predicting 8-4. So yeah, that'd be 4-4 in the conference. Apologies, I just saw that and clicked in my brain. But anyways, for that Michigan game, let's say that they go 9-3. Oklahoma goes 9-3. One of those 3 losses against Michigan, and Michigan's a non-conference game. So out of those 3 losses, they only lost 2 in conference, which means they went 6-2 in the SEC. That's a good season. That's better than going 9-3 and having all 3 losses in the SEC. At the grand scheme of things, as long as Michigan is good. Let's say that Michigan goes 10 wins, and that's the only way that I think that Michigan game being a loss could turn around to be an okay thing for Oklahoma. Don't freak out if you lose to Michigan, is what I'm saying. Although I'm not going to be able to stop you from freaking out. So go ahead and do as you will. Here, real quick, I am going to paste, or I'm going to put this call-in number in the live chat one more time for you guys, just so it's there. Again, that's 405-353-4535. But anyways, yeah, so that Michigan game's big. I think the Texas game will decide more for Oklahoma going forward. I agree with you there, Modern Day Caveman. Jeremy does jump in and say 1 game at a time. That is absolutely the case. Us as fans, we don't have to take it 1 game at a time, okay? We get to jump all the way from the preseason all the way to the end of the season. We get to even let's go ahead and you know what? Let's jump over to our next segment where we're going to predict the college football playoffs every round. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, definitely 1 game at a time for the team specifically. 1 game at a time. Let's not jump ahead of ourselves. And specifically, like going back to all these tough games. You got Texas, South Carolina. What was that stretch? Texas at South Carolina, Ole Miss at home, Tennessee on the road, Alabama on the road, Missouri on the road. Missouri at home, and then LSU at home. So, I mean, the last 7 games, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, the last 7 games, that is a brutal stretch. And that's something that the committee will absolutely take into consideration when talking about Oklahoma. Jeremy also says, well, it all starts in the trenches. And that is absolutely correct, especially in the SEC. Jay Morgan says confidence, meaning you'll jump on the bandwagon later, right? I'm not really sure what you mean. I'm not on any bandwagons, so I don't know. I'll jump on a bandwagon if you pay me to. All right, you throw out a number, and I'll consider it. Let's talk. Hit me up in the DMs. No, I'm not sure what you mean by that, but love to hear from you. Let's see. Modern Day says 11-1. The only possible loss is South Carolina. I like the optimism. A lot of fans hate on other fans for being sunshine pumpers. Yeah, no. Being a fan is that you are optimistic. There's other shows, even here on the Voice of College Football. There's other shows, and I'm totally fine with it. They're fans. I'm a fan of Oklahoma. I've been a fan of Oklahoma since I can remember, since I was very very little. Since I could decide, what team I wanted to cheer for. So I'm a fan, but what I try to do on this show is try to be realistic, give you guys the most realistic takes I possibly can. But there's other shows on Voice of College Football. They are a fan made show for fans, and they pump up their team. That's what fandom is all about. That's what being a fanatic is all about. So I'm all for it. That's how I feel. Mess says 8-4 will get BV fired. This roster is deep on both sides. BV must show he can outcoach opposing teams or hire a head coach who can outcoach opposing teams. I don't think 8-4 gets Brent Venables fired. And also to answer your question down below, my 4 losses were, let's see, you've got Texas, South Carolina, Alabama, and LSU. Those are the 4 losses, respectable losses. You've got 2 of those on the road, one against Texas. Again, you don't want to lose to Texas, so that one sucks. And then one at home, but against an LSU team who I think would be very big if my prediction were to stand true. But yeah, I don't think 8 wins gets him fired. I think 7 wins is that mark where he's probably getting fired. I think 80% chance that he's out the door. You do have to recognize that first of all, 8 wins. This is an incredibly difficult schedule. I would say top 3 toughest schedules in the nation. I think Florida and Wisconsin are the only 2 that really compare to the difficulty that Oklahoma has to go through. So I think Oklahoma has a top 3 difficult schedule, the top 3 most difficult schedule out there in college football this upcoming season. So you have to recognize that a little bit. And with that, I don't think 8-4, because you have to look at that, and you also have to recognize that there is a lot of new pieces, right? You do have a new offensive coordinator. You are trying to battle back from the injuries that you battled all season long last season. You're hoping that your offensive line is better. There's a lot of question marks. Yes, it's deep, and yes, this roster and what you've placed together should be good enough. I agree with you. And as an Oklahoma fan, you're not settling for 8-4. You're not settling for it, but you do have to have some understanding with everything that's gone into this season. If you end up 8-4, so I'll throw that out there. Personally, I don't think he gets fired at 8-4, but you might be right, because that 9 wins might be it should be the expectation. The expectation should be 9 wins is your bottom, your low mark, and then 10 wins. Okay, we're happy with that, because 10 wins is going to get you to the playoffs every single game or every single year. And in the SEC, if you're getting 10 wins in the SEC, you're a pretty dang good team. 11 wins, awesome. We love to see that. 12 wins, perfection. So I don't care how you get those 12 wins. If you can win all 12 wins in the regular season, hats off to you. You're doing everything right. We can't ever critique you. So 8 wins is never okay. This season is just an anomaly for that. So that's the only thing. Let's see here. One more. I'll go back to Mess real quick. He says, so BV can't outcoach Sark on a neutral field after Texas lost 12 players in the NFL draft. No, what I'm saying is there's a lot of question marks with Texas. I'm thinking that Texas will. They're getting so much hype. Okay, and I haven't really dove into Texas extremely deep to look at Texas and to say that I can definitively pick them in the preseason to lose to Oklahoma. I have a good feeling that Oklahoma wins 9-3. It goes 9-3. I have a good feeling that happens this season. I don't think they'll lose to Texas, but it's a possibility, and that's one of those. And again, I think you could swap my losses. My overall prediction is 8-4. If I'm being realistic, I think 8-4 is what Oklahoma goes with this schedule. But I don't know where those 4 losses come from necessarily. It might be Michigan, South Carolina, Alabama, and Tennessee. Ole Miss might be able to be one of those 4 losses. I think just about any one of those SEC teams. I think Auburn and Missouri are the 2 that I feel the most confident that those are Oklahoma's 2 wins in the SEC this upcoming season. Outside of that, the other 6 teams that they face in the SEC, any one of them could beat Oklahoma, in my opinion. So, I do think, again, this is my unbiased, as realistic prediction as I can give, 8-4. As a fan, I really feel like 9-3 is what it is. And then 10-2 is like my optimistic. I'm a diehard fan, so 10-2, man. I'm looking at this and I'm like, I'm with you. You have such a deep roster. You made all the right moves. Everything feels like Oklahoma has trended in the right directions this past offseason with hiring Ben Arbuckle, getting John Mateer, getting Jaden Knott, adding some wide receivers that can really be key playmakers. And then, of course, keeping that defense strong and keeping them where they were last season, basically. So, I think that Oklahoma has a really good chance to shock everybody. And like OKC fan says, 11-1 SEC champs. I have a good feeling, like as a fan, I have a good feeling that that's the case. That's not what I do on this show or with any of my work, is to come out here and try to pump up Oklahoma to be like this, this unstoppable team. That's not what I am. I'm just trying to be as realistic with it as possible. And I think four losses somewhere on the schedule. So again, to name those off, I think LSU, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, South Carolina, or Texas. I think those are the 6 teams that I look at, and I think 4 of those 6 teams could possibly beat Oklahoma this season. I don't think they're gonna have as bad of a season as last year. I think they're gonna improve, and I think they're gonna have a couple more wins than they did last season. That's why I think 8-4. 9-3 is kind of my expectation from this season because of how difficult this schedule is. Anything above that would just make me ecstatic as a fan. And I would think that many of you would feel the same. But that's all I got for you guys tonight. Again, appreciate everybody for jumping in. I'll jump to this real quick. Realistic or conservative? There's no money here. 9-3 is the floor with this home game schedule and roster. Yeah, I guess conservative might be the correct term for that. I'll go with you there. Man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate all your comments because you're making me kind of explain even deeper. I'm being conservative. I think I'm conserving a lot because, again, like I said, I'm a fan. I'm just not about pumping up the team because I can come in here and say I'm trying to be realistic or conservative with Oklahoma and say, hey, I think 8-4 is my prediction. Although I'm cheering for more, I think I think even more could happen with Oklahoma. And you can come at me at the end of the season and say, hey, I'm sure glad you're wrong. Or I can say Oklahoma's going 11-1 this season because, I just have so much faith in this team. And I look at all the newness on the schedule that you're going against. I look at the home games and I look at all this. I piece all this together. And I could say that. And then at the end of the season, when Oklahoma goes 7 wins, you're like, dang, dude, why'd you pump us up like that? And so, that's kind of the line that I sit at as somebody who is talking on a camera about this. It's not that I really care about that. It's just that I personally, as a fan, I want to hear somebody give it to me straight. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with this show. That's what I aim to do with all of my work, is to just give it to you straight, give it to you how I see it on paper, and try to leave my bias out of it because I'm a fan. I'm going to be biased. My biased take would be that Oklahoma goes 10-2 this year. I have a weird suspicion that that's the case because of what you're saying, Mess. I think that Oklahoma has just added too much. You look at this schedule with the home games that they have, and looking at everything that they've got going into this season, man, I just feel like there's no way that they don't come out with going 10-2. So yeah, I'm with you. Okay. And so, don't catch me wrong. I just think that there's still some uh, question marks to be answered out there. What is the health of this team going into the first game, into the first week? Specifically, what's the health of this team going into that Michigan game? That's what I want to see in that Michigan game. But then also, what's the health of this team going into the Texas game? That's what I was thinking of. And I think going into the Auburn game is when you're going to start to see what this is truly all about, and then going forward from there. But anyways, no, I appreciate you jumping in the chat, and also OKC OU OKC fan. He says Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, and Tennessee lost a lot. Yeah, and I agree with you, man. Both of you guys kind of newer to the chat. I think Sooner Bob, we saw him a little bit last week. Appreciate all of you guys jumping in the chat. Sooner Bob giving a 9-3. I like that prediction too. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for you tonight. Oh, one more, real quick. Sooner Bob, appreciate it, man. You donated last week as well, but I appreciate you so much. He says, "Good evening, my friend. Good evening back to you, Sooner Bob." Yeah, and again, I like your prediction that you threw up there too. 9-3. It's a great prediction, and I think I'm very excited for this upcoming season. But again, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, follow over on social media. Down below, you'll see all the links for everything. You can follow on social media. You can follow me and this show specifically on social media. We're trying to do a lot more, promote a lot more on X. That's the main place where we're doing a lot of promotions, a lot of work on. We're going to keep on building up our community. We've also got memberships for those of you who want to support this show even further. So you can click that link down in the description below to become a member. We're going to do all kinds of exclusive content for our members, and we're going to keep on adding to that the more that our membership grows too. So please check that out if you are willing to support us. Otherwise, just a quick and easy way, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can always follow on social media as well. But anyways, appreciate you all so much for all the love, all the support. I'll catch you next time. Boomer.